5 signs that you're marked by God. This is why you've been tested so deeply. Before you scroll, before your mind drifts, let me ask you something deeply personal. Have you ever felt like your life doesn't quite fit the pattern of everyone around you? Like no matter how hard you try to blend in, something inside you refuses to settle for shallow living, empty success, or surface-level faith. You've tried to silence that inner pull. You've tried to ignore that quiet voice that keeps calling you back to God. But somehow, it never leaves. What if that restlessness is not confusion, but confirmation? There are people who go through life untouched, unbothered, unmoved by God. And then there are people like you. People who feel conviction where others feel comfort. People who are shaped by trials that should have destroyed them. People who sense that their pain is not wasted, their delays are not random, and their story is not finished. The Bible tells us that God marks his own, not with visible signs that the world can easily recognize, but with spiritual fingerprints that leave traces all over your life. Being marked by God does not mean your path is easy. It means your life is intentional. It means heaven is invested in who you are becoming. You may have questioned why you feel so deeply, why opposition seems to follow you, why God refuses to let you walk away even when you want to. But what if all of that is evidence? Evidence that your life carries weight. Evidence that your soul has been claimed for something greater. If you have ever felt chosen but not celebrated, protected but pressured, called but still in process, this message is for you. Because once you recognize the signs, you will never see your struggles, your calling, or your relationship with God the same way again. Part 1. You are convicted more than you are condemned. One of the deepest, clearest, and most personal signs that you are marked by God is this: your heart will not allow you to stay at peace when you are out of alignment with Him. You may stumble. You may fall into patterns you promised yourself you would leave behind. You may wrestle with thoughts, desires, or weaknesses that seem stubborn and familiar. But no matter how hard you try to move forward without dealing with them, something inside you resists. Your spirit remains alert. Your conscience refuses to go silent. That inner resistance is not weakness. It is evidence that your life is claimed. When you do wrong, it is not merely fear of consequences that unsettles you. It is the awareness that something sacred has been disturbed. You feel it when prayer becomes heavier, when worship feels distant, when peace fades even though nothing in your external life has changed. You sense a quiet fracture between your heart and God's presence. That discomfort is not condemnation. It is conviction, and conviction is one of the strongest signs that God has placed His mark upon you. Condemnation pushes you away from God. It tells you to hide, to withdraw, to believe that you are no longer worthy of grace. Conviction draws you toward God. It calls you back to truth. Condemnation says, "You've failed too many times." Conviction says, "This is not who you are." Condemnation attacks your identity. Conviction protects it. If God had not marked you, He would allow you to drift without resistance. He would let compromise feel normal. He would allow sin to become routine. He would permit your heart to grow numb and your conscience to dull. But instead, He interrupts you. He unsettles you. He places a holy discomfort in your spirit that refuses to let you settle for a smaller, weaker version of who He created you to be. You may wonder why others seem to live however they want without inner conflict, while you feel deeply unsettled over things they dismiss as harmless. Why certain conversations now feel empty. Why entertainment that once excited you now feels hollow. Why habits you once justified now leave you restless and uneasy. This is not you becoming judgmental or overly sensitive. This is your spirit being trained by God. Being marked by God means your inner life is under His careful attention. He guards your conscience closely. He sharpens your discernment. He reshapes your desires long before He reshapes your circumstances. And sometimes that means you feel conviction where others feel absolutely nothing at all. Even when you try to silence it, even when you try to explain it away, that quiet inner voice keeps returning. It reminds you that you were not created for shallow living, surface-level faith, or divided loyalty. You were created for closeness with God, for holiness that reaches beyond outward behavior and into the depths of the heart, for truth that shapes who you are when no one else is watching. There may be moments when you feel exhausted by this awareness, moments when you envy people who seem carefree and untouched by conviction, moments when you wish God would stop correcting you and simply let you rest. But understand this clearly: God does not pursue strangers this way. He does not discipline what he has abandoned. He corrects those he calls his children. Your conviction is not proof that you are failing. It is proof that you are claimed. It is proof that your heart is still soft enough to be shaped. It is proof that heaven is invested in who you are becoming. God is guarding your heart because your heart matters to your calling. Many people confuse conviction with rejection and walk away from God when he is actually drawing closer. But being marked by God means he will not let you go easily. He will not let you destroy yourself quietly. He will not let you remain someone you were never meant to be. So when conviction rises, do not run from it. Do not resent it. Let it lead you back to God. Because that inner voice is not there to condemn you. It is there to remind you who you belong to. You are marked, and God is actively protecting the condition of your heart, even when that protection feels uncomfortable, demanding, and costly. Part 2. Resistance intensifies as you draw closer to God. Another powerful and often misunderstood sign that you are marked by God is this: resistance seems to increase the closer you draw to him. Many people expect that once they choose obedience, life will become easier, but often the opposite happens. When your faith becomes serious, the pressure intensifies. The moment you commit to prayer, distractions multiply. The moment you choose obedience, temptation grows louder. The moment you decide to live with integrity, old battles resurface with renewed force. This is not coincidence. It is confirmation. The enemy does not fight what has no destiny. Resistance is often a reaction to purpose. When your life carries spiritual weight, darkness takes notice. And that is why your journey may feel more difficult than the journeys of those around you, even when your heart is sincere and your intentions are pure. You may have experienced opposition that felt unfair, rejection that made no sense, doors that closed just as you were stepping forward in faith, relationships that shifted when your priorities changed, people who misunderstood you, distanced themselves from you, or questioned your motives when you chose growth over comfort. These moments feel deeply personal, but often they are deeply spiritual. When God marks someone, their transformation disrupts more than just their own life. Your obedience challenges environments built on compromise. Your healing threatens patterns that depend on brokenness. Your growth exposes comfort zones that others would rather protect, and not everyone will celebrate that disruption. Scripture reveals this pattern again and again. Joseph was betrayed before he was promoted. David was hunted before he was crowned. Moses was resisted before he was followed. Jesus was opposed before he was glorified. Resistance did not mean they were wrong. It meant they were chosen. If you are marked by God, even your quiet obedience carries weight. You do not need a platform for your life to make an impact. You do not need recognition for your faith to provoke resistance. Your life speaks before your words do. And as you draw closer to God, resistance often intensifies because your purpose becomes clearer. There will be moments when the pressure feels overwhelming, moments when you wonder why doing the right thing feels so costly, moments when you pray more but feel more attacked, moments when obedience seems to open the door to struggle instead of relief. But hear this truth clearly. Resistance does not cancel calling. Pressure does not mean abandonment. Struggle does not mean God has stepped away. Often, God allows resistance because He is strengthening you for what lies ahead. He is building endurance in your spirit. He is sharpening your discernment. He is teaching you how to rely on Him when your own strength runs out. He is forming depth in hidden places so that when responsibility increases, your foundation will not collapse. What feels like opposition is often preparation. What feels like delay is often development. What feels like attack is often refinement. God is shaping you for longevity, not quick success, for faithfulness, not applause, for impact that lasts beyond a moment. So do not interpret difficulty as failure. Do not mistake struggle for disfavor. If your faith is being tested, it is because it is valuable. If resistance follows your obedience, it is because your life carries weight in the spiritual realm. You are marked, and marked lives are never left untouched by the battle, because what God has placed inside you is worth protecting, refining, and fighting for. Part 3. You cannot escape God's voice. One of the most unmistakable signs that you are marked by God is this: His voice keeps reaching you, again and again, no matter how far you try to go, no matter how intentionally you try to silence it, and no matter how convincingly you tell yourself that you are done with faith, calling, or spiritual responsibility. You may change your surroundings, your habits, your relationships, even the way you talk about God, but His voice continues to find its way into your life. It does not always arrive in dramatic or emotional moments. More often, it comes quietly, persistently, slipping past your defenses when you least expect it. It comes in moments of stillness you didn't plan for, in long nights when your thoughts slow down and the noise finally fades, in sudden realizations that feel heavier than logic can explain, in words you hear or read that linger far longer than they should. You recognize His voice not because it is loud, but because it carries authority, familiarity, and truth all at once. If you are marked by God, His voice does not disappear when you struggle. It does not go silent when you resist. It does not abandon you when you fail. God does not speak to you because you are consistent or deserving. He speaks because you belong to Him. His voice is not a reward for obedience. It is evidence of relationship. You may try to silence that voice by staying busy. You may fill every quiet space with noise, entertainment, and activity so you don't have to listen. You may convince yourself that you just want peace, comfort, and a life without spiritual tension. But something inside you refuses to fully accept that explanation. There is a restlessness that follows you, a sense of incompleteness that doesn't go away, a quiet awareness that you are not escaping something, you are postponing it. God's voice often disrupts you because it refuses to let you remain who you were. It asks questions you don't want to answer. It exposes motives you'd rather keep hidden. It challenges decisions that feel safe but shallow. It calls out potential you don't feel ready or qualified to carry. That discomfort is not punishment. It is protection. God interrupts you because He sees where certain paths lead before you ever get there. There are people who can walk away from God and feel nothing at all. They drift without resistance. And then there are people like you who feel tension even when trying to distance themselves. That tension is not shame. It is calling. It is proof that God has invested Himself in your story and refuses to abandon what He has started. There may be seasons when God's voice feels demanding, confusing, or exhausting. Moments when obedience feels costly and inconvenient. Times when you wish He would stop speaking and simply let you rest. But even then, you know when it is Him. His voice carries authority without force, conviction without cruelty, persistence without impatience. Being marked by God means He speaks not only to guide your steps, but to shape your soul. He speaks to protect you from becoming someone successful but empty. He speaks to remind you who you are when life tries to redefine you. Silence would mean neglect. His voice means involvement. Sometimes He speaks through peace, sometimes through unrest, sometimes through scripture that feels painfully personal, Sometimes through people who say exactly what you needed to hear at exactly the wrong time. Sometimes through a deep inner knowing you cannot explain or shake. But however he speaks, the result is always the same. You are drawn back to truth. So if you have ever said, "I tried to walk away but something kept pulling me back," understand this clearly, that something is not coincidence. It is the voice of the one who marked you, reminding you that your story is not finished, your purpose is not cancelled, and your calling has not expired. Part 4. You carry a burden that others do not understand. Another profound and often lonely sign that you are marked by God is this: you carry a burden that others struggle to understand. You feel deeply. You notice what most people overlook. You are affected by injustice, brokenness, and spiritual emptiness in ways that feel heavy and personal. And many times, you cannot explain why certain things weigh on you so strongly. You may walk into a room and sense tension before anyone speaks. You may listen to someone talk and feel the pain behind their words. You may be troubled by suffering that does not directly touch your own life, while others move on quickly. Certain people, situations, and needs stay with you. This sensitivity is not accidental. It is not emotional weakness. It is spiritual assignment. God often marks his people with compassion long before he entrusts them with visible influence. He allows you to feel what he feels, to carry echoes of his heart, and that kind of awareness can be exhausting. It can feel overwhelming. It can make you wish you could turn it off and live lightly like everyone else. You may wonder why you care so much, why you think so deeply, why you feel responsible for things you cannot fix, why certain stories, injustices, or broken lives refuse to leave your heart. It's because your heart was not designed for indifference. It was designed for connection. Being marked by God often means you carry concern for others, even when no one asks you to. You pray for people who may never know it. You intercede for situations far beyond your control. You feel drawn toward broken places, wounded people, and spiritual emptiness, even when it costs you emotionally and mentally. This burden can feel isolating. Others may tell you that you're too sensitive, too intense, too serious. They may encourage you to let it go when your spirit refuses to release it. What they don't see is that God has entrusted you with awareness because he intends to work through you. Throughout Scripture, those God used most deeply were those who felt deeply first. They wept before they led. They grieved before they guided. They carried sorrow, concern, and compassion long before they carried authority. Their burden was not a flaw. It was preparation. The burden you carry is not meant to crush you. It is meant to guide you. Often what weighs on your heart points directly toward your calling. What troubles you reveals what you are meant to serve. God uses burden as direction. There will be seasons when you feel emotionally tired, moments when you wish you could stop caring so much, times when the weight feels unbearable. But understand this clearly. God does not place heavy burdens on empty hearts. He places them on hearts he trusts. Being marked by God means learning how to carry what he places on you without letting it consume you. It means learning to bring your burden back to him instead of carrying it alone. It means allowing compassion to exist alongside surrender, not control. So if your heart feels heavy for reasons you can't fully explain, don't dismiss it. Don't numb it. Don't run from it. Bring it to God. Let him teach you how to carry it with wisdom, strength, and grace. Because that burden is not random. It is not a mistake. It is one of the clearest signs that you are marked by God, set apart to reflect his heart in a world that desperately needs compassion, truth, and hope. Part 5. Your life is being prepared, not rushed. One of the most revealing signs that you are marked by God is that your life unfolds more slowly than you expected. You may feel delayed, overlooked, or even forgotten. You may look around and see others moving ahead, building careers, gaining influence, achieving milestones, while you feel like you are still waiting, still learning, still standing in place. And if you're honest, this season has likely produced frustration, doubt, and moments where you've questioned God's timing. But here is a truth that changes everything. Lives that are marked by God are rarely rushed, because they are meant to last. God is not careless with what He marks. When He places His hand on a life, He becomes deeply invested not only in where that life is going, but in the condition of the heart that will arrive there. He is not interested in quick success that creates shallow faith. He is interested in deep formation that can carry long-term purpose without collapsing. So instead of speeding you up, God slows you down. This preparation often happens quietly, away from attention and applause. There are seasons where nothing dramatic seems to be happening on the outside, yet everything is being reshaped on the inside. God works on your character before He works on your circumstances. He deals with pride before He releases influence. He heals wounds before He gives responsibility. He teaches you obedience when no one is watching, and patience when answers do not come. These seasons can feel painfully invisible. You may pray for open doors and receive silence. You may feel ready for more while God keeps you exactly where you are. You may watch people with less integrity, less depth, or less commitment move faster than you, and it can make you wonder if waiting means you are failing. But God does not measure progress the way the world does. Throughout Scripture, those God trusted most were prepared the longest. David was anointed king and then sent back to obscurity. Joseph received dreams of authority and then spent years misunderstood, imprisoned, and forgotten. Moses was called and then hidden for decades before being sent. Even Jesus lived 30 years in preparation for 3 years of ministry. God is not delaying you because He forgot you. He is delaying you because He sees what you are becoming. If God rushed you into what you desire before your character was ready, it would damage you. If He gave you influence before humility, it would distort you. If He gave you responsibility before endurance, it would exhaust you. So instead, He builds you slowly, carefully, intentionally. Being marked by God often means learning faithfulness without recognition, learning trust without timelines, learning obedience without immediate reward. These lessons feel heavy, but they are protective. They ensure that when the season changes, you will not lose yourself in what God gives you. You may not understand why certain doors remain closed, why opportunities seem delayed, why clarity comes in fragments instead of fullness. But God sees the full picture. He knows when you will be ready, not just to receive the blessing, but to sustain it without losing your soul. So if your life feels slower than you expected, do not despair. Do not compare. Do not quit. What feels like waiting is often God strengthening your foundation beneath the surface. You are not behind. You are being prepared. Marked lives are not rushed, because they are designed to endure pressure, responsibility, and purpose without breaking. Conclusion: you are marked, seen, and not forgotten. If you have seen yourself in these signs, I want you to pause for a moment and let this truth settle deeply into your spirit. Being marked by God is not random, and it is never meaningless. Your life is not unfolding by accident. Your struggles are not evidence of abandonment. Your sensitivity, your resistance, your conviction, your burdens, and your seasons of waiting all point to one unchanging reality. God's hand has been on you all along. You were not marked because you were flawless. You were marked because God chose you. He saw something in you before you ever saw it in yourself. He knew the weight your heart could carry, the depth your faith could grow into, and the purpose your life could serve. And because He marked you, He has walked with you through correction, opposition, persistence, compassion, and preparation. Every time conviction protected you when compromise looked easier, God was guarding your soul. Every time resistance rose when you chose obedience, God was strengthening your faith. Every time His voice called you back when you tried to walk away, God was reminding you that you still belong to Him. Every burden you carried for others was shaping his heart inside you. Every delay you endured was building a foundation strong enough to hold what is coming next. You may have felt misunderstood by people who could not see what God was doing in you. You may have felt alone in seasons where obedience cost more than it seemed to give. You may have wondered why your path felt heavier, slower, and more demanding than others. But now you can see it with clearer eyes. God was not punishing you, He was preparing you. So do not despise the process that shaped you. Do not resent the sensitivity that keeps you close to God. Do not silence the voice that continues to guide you. Do not abandon the path simply because it has been difficult. Marked lives are not always easy lives, but they are deeply purposeful lives. The same God who marked you is faithful to complete what He began. He has not forgotten you in the waiting. He has not lost sight of you in the struggle. He has not overlooked you in the silence. You are seen, you are known, you are held. Walk forward with humility, courage, and trust. Carry your calling gently but faithfully. And remember this, even in your quietest seasons, marked lives are tested deeply, refined carefully, prepared patiently, but they are never ever abandoned.